Alright guys, what we got here is a Honda V6. It's a B7TA. I'm going to show you a couple of things that are associated with this unit, the most common problems and all the headaches that this unit will cause if it's not cleaned and assembled correctly. To start with, we see the valve body here. Well, first let's look at the bottom of the unit. It's very dirty. Now this vehicle had erratic shifting. It had harsh reverse engagement. We see here that the reverse clutch pressure control valve, it's all bottomed out. That's why we had the harsh reverse engagement. Now it was shifting from first to second sometimes, and sometimes from first to neutral, and then it would neutralize. We have the clutch pressure control valves, the A and B. We get a little bit closer. One is completely bottomed out in the bore. You can see here that it's supposed to be against the end plug. And this one here, you see this part of the spring. Both of those valves are stuck. You have the main control valve body here already with the valves out that were stuck. We're going to use this little brush here on a high-speed drill. They're called Bench Buddies from Superior. They're actually valve bore polishers. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and polish the bores from where those valves came out from. They were very stuck, and they should fall in by itself. Now you remember this valve. This is the reverse clutch pressure control valve. It should drop by itself on its own weight. That's how free these valves should be. And always test them without the spring. See, I have the spring still over there in the rack. Always test your valves without the spring and make sure they float freely and they fall by themselves on the inside the board. Now this is our lockup shift valve, all the way inside into the board. Nice and free. And you do these on all the valves that are stuck. We're going to do it on the rest of these valves and the clutch pressure control valve. And then we're going to concentrate on the pressure regulator valve, and this is the most common problem with this unit. If you get blue converters or real burnt fluid after overhaul, or if you receive a unit like that with a burnt or blue converter, completely melted, this is the problem, and I'll show you why. This is the relief valve. There we go, bottomed out. And here we have our modulator valve. There we go. Fill all the way down into the bore. And now our clutch pressure control valve B and clutch pressure control valve A. B and A. Another thing I need to bring up to your attention: use your tubing cutter to cut a little groove in it. This will help when you put this end plug back in the bore. It's going to help it seal, and so you won't have no fluid blow by. Especially in all the valves that the spring is on the opposite side. If you have the applied circuit against the end plug, then it is very recommended that you do that. Cut a little groove in it, and that'll help you seal the end plug in the bore. It is very important that you torque your bolts. Do not use an impact wrench. We're going to torque this at 9 foot-pounds, and these 3 other bolts, we're going to torque them to 13 foot-pounds. have the main pressure regulator valve. See how I have this valve body like this valve should have already dropped out, and it's very stuck. This is the reason why we had a lot of damage in this unit, and we had a blue converter in this unit as well. I'm going to try and get this valve out, and it is very, very stuck. It's taking a little bit of force to get it out. There we go. Here it is. This is what causes most of your problems. I'm going to show you the hydraulic diagrams for this unit, and I'm going to explain to you why this is very important, that this valve should be free. And another thing I need to mention is that these two bolts right here, they go here on the side of the valve bore. I know a lot of builders, they like to use the impact wrench to tighten all the bolts. That's why I said that it is very, very critical and very important that you get your bolts in with your speed handle and torque them with your torque wrench. Basically, it's like 9 pounds, 8.4, 8.7 foot-pounds, or 108 inch-pounds. 9 foot-pounds is good, 108 is good on all these 10mm bolts. Do not over-torque these two bolts, otherwise you're going to create this problem. The valve is going to be closed shut, and you're not going to have any converter charge. Here you can see a little cutout. Now, and in the front, you have a little hole. Now, when you first start the engine, line pressure goes into this port. It goes to the front of the valve, and it starts regulating until this little notch right here will allow the fluid to charge the converter. Now, if this valve is very, very hung up and it's in the closed position, you are not going to be able to get this valve to move to get the converter charge circuit open, and you're not going to have any converter charge at all. And what's going to happen? Well, your converter is going to burn up. It's going to turn blue. It's going to overheat. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use our bench buddy with our high-speed drill. We're going to polish the bore, and we're going to work the valve in and out. Usually on all the valves, I mean, you do maybe 20 times in and out, in and out, and that should be enough to get the valve in there free. And remember, when you put this thing back together, torque all of your bolts, 108 inch-pounds. Do not over torque these two bolts here. Okay, so I marked the converter charge circuit in red. Line circuit, it's in blue. And I did not mark the loop circuit. This is the loop circuit here. This is line circuit in blue. And in red, it's the converter charge circuit. Now here's the valve. Let me see if I can get it to where you can see the two lands. The cutouts here, it's for line to converter charge. And then you have line to lubrication. You have two little cutouts here. You have a cutout here and a cutout here. Now the line to converter charge is larger than the line to lube, which is converter charge is more important. So, and then you have the little hole in the front. So this valve being in the rest position all the way into the bore, you have line, you have loop circuit cut off, and you have converter charge cut off. Now when you first start the vehicle, the valve, I don't know if you can see it here, but the valve itself, line pressure will move it, and it'll open both circuits, the line circuit and the loop circuit. Both circuits will be open. Now, just as a preventive measure, if you have a drill bit that's the same size as this hole, I mean, I've done this before and it works very, very well. You can drill a line to converter charge hole in there, which I have already done. I have the little small drill bit, and I drilled the line to convert a charge whole circuit already. You see there. This is just a preventive measure, just in case, I mean, it gets overheated and it gets hung up. But as you see, the trouble that we had getting this valve out, and how easily it drops in and falls off the bore. I mean, this valve is pretty free. Just to let you know, this is a line to convert a charge. You don't have to drill a line to lube. Just a line to convert a charge. This is just as a preventive measure. And like I said before, very small drill bit, the same size as the one in the front of the valve. Or if you have a 40 thousandths drill bit or a little bit smaller, that would be perfect as long as you have some flow going to the torque converter. This will fix the converter charge headache that's been going on since the late 90s up till today. Okay, well, there's our finished product here. It's already completely assembled. Now these are just some basic tools that are very necessary and important for a successful rebuild on this unit. These are the bench buddies. They come in a set of 4. I just use this for this transmission, right? But it is very, very important that you clean your valve bodies thoroughly. There's no shortcuts here. You have to remove the valve from the bore, polish the bore, clean the valve, reinstall the valve without the spring if it takes a spring before the valve, and just make sure it strokes all the way to the bottom and it falls out of the bore freely on its own weight. I'm pretty sure everyone has one of these. It's a tubing cutter, regular cheap $5 tubing cutter. That's to make that little groove on the end plugs. Mini needle nose to pull the valves out of the bores, and I have 2 torque wrenches here plus a digital one that I used before. This is a regular foot-pounds, and this is an inch-pounds torque wrench. This little gadget here, this little tool, it's to adjust the linear solenoids. If you just want to adjust in half a quarter of a turn, that's the little range that goes in the back, and the front of it, it's like a pentagon. It's 5 sides. I'm a little bit too close here. Let me pick it up. See, it's 5 sides, and you actually adjust linear solenoids. They're already installed, but they have an adjustment in the front. So you adjust them if you have low pressure in the shifts, and of course, I mean, your regular flathead screwdriver with the, usual picks, that you would use. Now, what we're gonna do here, we are gonna go through some real research about it. I know that it's not just easy just to throw things out there. This is identifying the pressure regulator valve body, and if we look at it here, this is our pressure regulator. This is our lockup control valve. Now on this one it was stuck, and I got it out of the bore and polished the bore and inserted it back in. This is the lockup timing valve. This was free. Now this is anodized aluminum, and this is a steel valve. For some reason, most of the steel valves, they get real hung up, and the aluminum valves, they're nice and free. But we went ahead and removed all of them and inspect them and just clean the bore and polish the bore and reinstall them into their respective bores. Now, a lot of research was done here in order for me to bring up this information. What I've been noticing on every single one of the transmissions that would come in with the overheated torque converter, they get blue. They actually get cherry red, and the metal gets blue. I'm pretty sure you've seen those converters come into your shops. I would always notice that the valve body was over torqued. It was way too tight. Most of the bolts are just way too tight. I've seen some stripped threads on it. Maybe whoever built it used an impact wrench, and the pressure regulator valve, it gets stuck closed. And on some of the occasions, I mean, it's just normal wear and tear, and the transmission is just very dirty, it never got serviced, and this valve would get hung up also, you know, on the closed position. Now this picture right here that we're looking at, this is the pressure regulator valve, and this is the valve orifice. It has the little hole that I'll show you, and then you have line going in these two ports right here where the B is at. Okay, now this is if the engine is off, this is the way the valve would be, right against the wall. It would be bottomed out. But once you start the engine, see how the valve is away? Now we got from ATF pump, the fluid goes in here in this port right here, and it goes to this other port over here. It goes into the hole in front of the valve, and it opens the valve just enough so that you can have converter charge and you can have lubrication. And here in the back you have you know the valve springs. You have two inner ones and one large outer one. Now here we see the rotation of the torque converter is multiplying torque. We have the stator, and then we have the lever that goes up against the back of where all the springs go. So whenever you accelerate the vehicle, it pushes the valve towards the closed position, right? This is the way it's regulating. I mean, you got line pressure holding against it, you know, holding it open. And when you do a kick down or you force it, the converter starts to multiply in torque. It starts pushing the valve to the closed position so you can have the proper pressure during all your upshifts. We have the regulator spring cap, the stator shaft arm, and the stator shaft. Regulator valve and the regulator valve body. Right now we're just identifying all the different components. Now let's identify the lockup control system. Here we have again the pressure regulator valve. You see that the pressure regulator valve, it's not against the bore, it's in the regulating position. Here, remember that little cutout on the land that I showed you? The valve is regulating, but it's allowing fluid to go up into the torque converter. And it goes all the way in. Now I think I went too fast here a little bit. So it goes to the lubrication. This is the torque converter charge. It goes to the lockup shift valve, and see there's an open land here. It goes through the valve and it works its way up into the converter. This is converter charge. So in review, just pay attention to this valve. As long as this valve is not stuck shut like you see here, well, it's shut because the engine is not running and I have it off the transmission. Valve is shut. This is line pressure. Line pressure. It goes through the hole on the valve. It pushes the valve open. You have the little land, that has a little cutout. This is the loop circuit. No, this is converter charge, and this is the loop circuit. So like I said, you don't have to drill line to loop, but if you want to be on the safe side, you can create a leak between line to converter charge. You want to fill this converter charge. You can drill here, you can drill here, or you can drill here. It doesn't matter. I drilled up here. This is line, what it looks like a horseshoe. That's line pressure, and this little angle here is converter charge. Okay, keep these transmissions rolling on the road, and happy building. See you later.